welcome back to my YouTube channel, and this is going to be our next part of our food app series. So in the previous video we implemented the cart flows, right? And in this video we are going to implement the address flows, right? So what we will be doing is that we'll work on setting up the addresses for the user. Okay, now the thing that we need to do first is that we need to implement a bottom navigation which will allow us to go to the cart directly, because right now we don't have any specific section from where we can go there. And to implement that, what we need to do is that we need to jump to the code. Now if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe, and let's just get to the code. Okay, so when you get over here into this code, what you need to do is that you need to go over here into this main activity, and in this main activity we have something like all these kind of things that are there. And what we need to do is that we need to implement the bottom navigation for that. So now what you need to do is that you need to go over here and search for the scaffold, and inside the scaffold what you have is that you have a bottom bar. Okay, and this is basically, this requires a composable. Now we don't have any composable right for now. So now what I'm gonna do is that I'll create a sealed class and call it bottom nav item. Okay, and now it is going to be something, for example it will take wall route, that is going to be any for now, and along with that we'll also use wall icon as an integer. Since we don't need the name of it, we'll not be using it, right? And now over here what we will do is that we'll have home card, and along with that, let's call it, we have a notification as well. So let's use notification, bottom nav item notification, comma IC notification. Okay, now once you do that, what you need to do that is that you make sure that you use the navigation one, not the bottom one. This is basically the route through which all these items will be moving, and same we are going to do with the IC card, and it is going to be same for notification as well. We need to go over here to the nav routes, and over here let's create a serializable object and call it notification. So once you do that, it will basically do all these things. Now there is just one more thing that we need to make. Interface nav route, this basically help me assigning a type to all these nav routes that I have. So let's just do those. Okay, now I have all these things, and I'll go back to main activity, and rather than using an any, I'll be using nav routes, so that it's better in terms of how we handle it. And now we don't have these icons, so what you need to do is that you need to go to Figma and export all these icons that we have. I have already exported them, so what I'm going to do is that I'll just go over here into this resource drawable, and now inside this drawable let's just import those resources. So I'll go new vector assets, and from over here let's use cart, but make it a IC cart. Now again go to vector assets, now this time go and select home and make it IC home. Third one is going to be vector asset, and this is going to be IC notification. So we already have that, right? That is going to be r dot drawable dot IC notification. Okay, so now we have all these icons that are there, and now we'll get over here, and now let's create a wall list of basically nav items. So let's call it nav items is equals to something like this, which is a home, cart, and notification. And inside that, let's create a navigation bar. Okay, now inside that I'm gonna say nav item dot for each, and I'll say item, right? This means now basically over here what we can do is that we can create our nav navigation bar item, so I'll be using navigation bar item. For selected, we are not using anything, so let's just make it false for now. On click, what we will be using is nav controller. Let's just take that nav controller from here to somewhere over here to the top, and now over here let's just use something like nav controller dot navigate, and that navigation will be going to be item dot route. Right, this is done. For icon, you can, for now, let's just create a simple icon, right, that gets a painter resource from yours, and call it painter resource, item dot icon. The content description should be null, right? So we have something like this, and we would also want a couple of more things. For example, that we want wall should show bottom nav is equals to remember mutable state of false. Sorry, that's going to be true. Okay, and now over here what we will do is that we'll only show it for these specific items. So other than that, if we have anything else, we'll not show it. So we are gonna say over here, this navigation bar should say animated visibility of should show, and we'll take this navigation bar inside it, so that it only is shown when there is basically it's needed. Okay, I'm gonna use it as a false over here. Okay, as a default it will not show anything. And now inside all these screens that we have, for example, now over here, for sign up we don't want to show, so I'll use keep it false, right? For auth screen we also don't want it. For login we don't want it. For home we want to show that, so I'll use it as true. Restaurant details, we don't want to show that. Food details, we also don't want to show that over here. And inside the card we want to show that, so I'll make it true as well. So these are true, and then along with that we'll also have one more composable that is basically notification, and for that we'll also want to show that, and for that we can just create a box for now. Nothing much. Okay, now one more thing that we want, and that is basically wall current route is equals to nav controller current back stack entry, that we will be using this destination as a variable. Now over here what I'm going to do is that I'll say wall selected is equals to something like this, current route dot hierarchy dot any, and if this basically is equals to item dot route dot class dot qualified name. So if it's something like that, this means now this is selected. We'll keep it this way. And also we want that int is equals to that if it's selected, we will be using material theme dot color scheme dot primary, which means the orange color, and else it will be gray. So I think that's pretty much what we want. Let me just try to run the code and see if what we have implemented is actually how we wanted. Okay, so it just ran, and now you can see that we have a bottom bar, navigation bar, which basically have all these things. We should show it as true. We are not showing it true, but I think that's one thing. And now let's say if I move somewhere else, it just vanish away, right? That's why what we wanted. Now along with that, for notification, or sorry, for cart, we want to show some sort of a count of the total item as well over here, and it would be really nice if we can like show it in this section. So let's just, like, you can see that we have something over here like this. So let's just try if we can do something like this for this as well. And we also would be want to have some sort of formatting for that. So we'll be saying container color that should equals to white, right? I think that's what we want. So the container color would be white. And now over here inside this icon section, what I'm gonna do is that I'll create a box over here, and I'm gonna take that icon inside that box. Okay. Now over here we'll be saying modifier dot align, that is going to be center, right? And now along with that we'll also use one more text, and this text is going to be a count. So let's say for now I'm just using 3, which should say that it's just a uh, section that shows that it's 3. I'm going to say modifier dot background dot red, and instead of red I'm going to use yellow, and the color should be used as white. We'll also make one more thing, and that is going to be clip, and that's going to be circle shape, right? So once you do that, you can add some padding to this as well. So let's just add some padding from each side. That's going to be 8.dp, and we'll also align it to top right. So sorry, that should be top end. Okay, so now this is basically what we have done. Now let's just see that if we have, like, if we are getting this specific, it will definitely show it for all, but let's see if we can, we get it for all the icons that we have. Okay, we do get it. Somehow it just gets behind the icon, which is, we know why. So what we'll do is that we'll take that and place it over here. Now let's just try again. Okay, it looks like it's not that looking good. Let's just do one more thing, create one more box, and make it a simple circle shape, and use the same alignment that it have for this. And okay, now let's just take this and put it inside it. We don't need this. We also don't need the background for this, and we can also make it center so that it's centrally aligned into this, and we can make it a yellow. Now let's just try again. Hopefully this time will not looks like this. In fact, it will properly show a circle icon. Okay, now you can see that it's there. The text is not looking good. We are not able to read the text, and the reason for that is the color that I'm using is quite different than what we have in the Figma file. So let's just create a color related to that, and that is going to be that. For that we need to go to UI and go to theme colors, and now over here let's just create one, and let's say mustard, right? Now over here just click on that, change the hex code that I copied, copy this mustard color and change it, place it over here. It's going to be mustard. Now import that, try to run this again. Hopefully this time we'll see some text inside this. Now you can see that we have this definitely the icons font size should be smaller to fit in, but other than that I think we are getting it. So I'm going to work on the font size of this. Uh, the font size has not been defined, so we'll make it uh, style uh, textile textile, and that is going to be font size. Let's make it 8 sp. Right now you can see that it's definitely showing. Let me make it at 10 so that it's slightly bigger in size and we can see it. Yeah, now we have this thing, right? It's looking good, but again, uh, what we need to do is that we don't want to show it on all these one. In fact, we want to show a specific like for only for now for only for cart, and then when we have notification feature implemented, we'll use it for that as well. But now we don't need it like this. We need to fix this so that it's not being shown on all the screens. Now what we need to do is that we need to make sure that it's only shown when there is a notification, and to do that what I'm gonna do is that I'll say if current route, sorry, if item dot route equals to cart, only then you'll show it, else will not show it. Now when you run it, you will only get it on the notification sorry, on the cart section, right? You'll see that now only the cart section has this one item that's only there. And the next step that we need to do is that we want to sync it with the cart flows, right? Now to sync it with cart flows, what we need to do is that we need to go over here into our cart screen. Now over here you see we are creating this view model over here, right? Now what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna take it away like this, go back from where we are basically using it. Now over here in the on the top section, like over here, not in the bottom section, in fact over here, we'll call it wall cart view model. Okay, something like this, equals to hilt view model, so that it's been used from here, and we'll pass the hilt view model to this. Okay, now this basically this is one step. The next step that we want to do is that we want to go to the cart view model and see if we have a cart items list over here inside this. Now you can see that we have this cart response that is there, and along with that we'll make one more state, and now I'll call it cart item count is equals to mutable state flow of 0. That's fine. Make it a private, and now over here we'll be using private, sorry, not private, wall item count as this. So let's just slightly fix this, make it cart item count. Right now once you do that, this means that now basically we will have this thing, and now when we get the data, what we'll do is that we'll assign it to this item dot items dot size. That's one thing, if that's the case. Else we definitely have a 0, and since every update basically we make this call, this means that now whenever there is any change in the cart item, it will be also be updated accordingly. Now we'll go back to our main activity, and now over here I'm gonna say wall cart item size is equals to cart view model dot cart item count dot collect as state with life cycle, right? And instead of using a 3 over here, we'll use something like this. Okay, and also we'll only show this when the size is greater than 0 rather than like without and so that basically it only shows when there is a actually any item in the cart. And now when you run it this time, you'll see that it will update the count to 1 rather than showing a hard coded value as 3. Now you can see that we have this as 1, and when I click on that you get this. Let's say if I remove that, when I remove that, it will remove it, right? And also let me see, let's say I add one more item to the cart, go to the cart. Yeah, so now there's just one more thing, is that when someone adds any item to the cart is not updating while it should update. And that why it's happening is that, let's say when there is a food details section, this is the food details section, this is the food details screen, right? Now if I go over here and you see that we have like something like this, and when there is something, the food, like when an item is being added to this, what we would like is that we would like to refresh the cart flows. So now what I'm going to do is that I'll make one more on item added to cart, that is going to be a function which going to be used something like this. So now this is basically a section where when basically we show show dialog, right, and we set it true over here, which means now it's basically on added to cart, we'll make this call as well, which will basically give the main activity a callback, right? And now over here we'll be using, sorry, so yeah, now I'll say view model cart view model dot get cart, which means now this will update the cart. And now when I get back to the cart screen after like adding any item, now you see we have this one item in cart. Let me just remove that. It's like showing everything 0. Now I'll go over here, I go to this pizza, I add to cart, I go okay, I go back. Now when I go to this cart, you see I have already one item and that is updated. Now this time basically the cart keeps on updating whenever there is anything that's been changed, right? And now let's say if I remove it, you'll see that it's becoming 0. This specific section should only be shown when the items are there, else it should show an empty screen. So we'll fix that. So to do that, we'll go back to our cart screen again. Let's just go back to cart screen, and now over here in this cart section, you see that this is basically showing a lazy like an item and stuff like that straight away. Now in this case, what I'm going to do is that I'll say if data dot items dot size is greater than 0, then will definitely show the list or like the cart section. Else what we are going to do is that we'll create a column that says there is no data, like no item in the cart, right? And let's just add one more thing. Let's say I can add a cart item as well and make it a painter resource r dot drawable dot cart. Content description should be null, and also the icon sorry, the tint should be gray. We'll also use the color for that as well as gray, so that it's in sync. And this is should be IC card, not card, right? Now let's rerun this. Let me just rerun the code, and this time when there is no item, it will show a no item section instead of this, and when there is any item, it will update it accordingly, so that it looks a bit better on what we want to show. Now you can see when I get over here, you'll see it says no item in the cart. At get over here, let's just add one item to the cart. Let's add a item to the cart, go back. Now you see we have one item, and you see that we have this icon like item showing as well. Now in the next part, what we are going to do is that when there is an item in the cart, let's say when there is one item in the cart, let me add one item to the cart and go to the cart section over here. Now over here we have something like this. Now what we want to do is that we want to make one more step over here. Like we will have one section, one card over here right above the checkout section that will show the user the address where they want to deliver. Right now we don't have any address section, so we will implement a card that will show address, and from over here user can select the addresses that the user have. User can add new addresses to the flow as well, and user can use an existing addresses as well. So that is basically the next part of our what we are gonna do. So I'll go over here, go to the card screen that I have. Where do I have the card screen? Let's just search for card screen, and now inside this card screen you can see that we created something like this that we have right now. On top of that I'll be making a composable, one more composable, let's say, and that composable is going to be a function, and that should be address card, right? It should take an address from the user, and the address is going to be something like for that basically what you need to do is that you need to go to your backend section, backend code, and in the backend code you need to go to the address class, and you can copy that specific class from there. Okay, now over here you have this address card, and now over here we'll get over here into this section, create a Kotlin class and call it address. Okay, that is going to be a data class, and once you do that it will be something like this. It will be an ID, that will be an address ID that comes from the backend. It will contain a user ID, address line 2, city, state, zip code, country, latitude and longitude. So these are a couple of things that address item will contain. And now this address section, it will be saying address and address. Okay, now over here we'll be making a very simple thing. We won't do a lot of things into this. We'll just use address line 1 for that matter. That will be a text. We'll also use a city, state and zip code as one liner, which is again pretty simple. And then we'll not use this. In fact, we'll use country, and let's just not use this anything like that. Okay, and we'll also make it a nullable, which means that it can be nullable. So if it's nullable, we'll not show this. It will only show if the address is not equals to null. In that case we'll show the address of the user. Else what we are gonna do is that we'll make some sort of let's say a text, right? And on top of that we'll be making a box, and we'll include all these things inside this. Okay, also we'll make it on address select, that is going to be something like this. Okay, now this box is gonna take modifier dot fill max width, right, dot shadow, and the elevation is going to be, let's say, a.dp. Then we'll make it a clip. Let's add a background to this, and that background is going to be white. Let's just use white. Padding should be only horizontal, right? And last thing is going to be clip, that's going to be round corner shape, but this will be just top end to be 16 and top start to be 16. So something like this. This box is gonna contain all these things, and then we'll be making it clickable, and over here on that it will be address click dot invoke. So yeah, that's pretty much what we would do. Yeah, just one more thing, make it color gray so that it's something like that, and we'll make select address. Okay, and now this address card will be part of this specific section. So we'll make it something like this. For now, I'm just going to add a null to this, and on address click is also going to be null. And try to run this and see how it looks on the card. Now you'll get over here something like this. Now we get to the card. You can see that it's there. It has the clip is not properly implemented, like the background should be somewhere else, but other than that I think it's pretty good. So what I'm gonna do is that I'll get over here, I'll take that clip from there and I'll add it somewhat over here. I think that should be fine. So the padding is being added internally. Okay. Much better. But I think we should add the brown corner shape. Not looking that good. Will make it all as a.dp, so that it's been added from all side, and the padding should be overall, not just horizontal, the internal padding, so that it leaves some spaces from all the sides. Now we go over here, and now you can see that it's much better. When I click on that, it's still clicking because of the padding. So we'll add the padding to the slightly above the padding, so that it's the ripple effect is being shown on this specific card, not just the address. And we'll see if it's work. Yeah, now you can see that it's clickable and it looks good. Now when I click on that, you can see that it's clickable and we can use it. So the next step would be to take that user to the next screen and fetch the addresses if there are any, and show that and allow the user to select the address from there. So to do that, what we need to do is that we need to go to cart view model. We'll go over here to the cart view model, and then inside that, in the navigation events that we have, like on checkout, we'll create object address on address clicked, and that is going to be cart event, right? And we'll go back to cart screen. It will start complaining over here. Now let's say is cart event dot address on address clicked, and now over here from there we will navigate to address list. So we don't have any address list as a navigation route for now, so let's just add that address list inside that navigation routes. We'll just go over here, models, nav routes that we have over here, make it serializable, sorry, object as nav routes. Okay, now this will be basically showing us this. We'll get over here, we can just import that, and now we'll go to the main activity, and over here in the bottom, like we have something like this, we can just create one section and just show it as address list, so that it looks like this. Let's just make it true as well. This was a bug, just remembered. Now this box is not going to be box, in fact that is going to be address list screen. We don't have that yet, so we'll implement that. We'll go over here to features, right click, create a new package, create a package with name address list underscore list. Now inside that, let's create a Kotlin class, call it address list screen. Right, we got this. Now this is going to be not is not going to be class. In fact, this is going to be an address list screen function. And also this is going to be a composable. Now let's create a view model for that. Let's just create address list view model. That is going to be class, make it a view model, right? And also make it an inject constructor like this, and make it a scaled view model. So these are the things that we would do in the view model. Now over here we will be making a couple of stuff like field classes, address state is going to be loading success, and yeah, right, this is going to be a list of address. Okay, and along with that we'll make it sealed class address event. So navigate to edit address, navigate to address, and let's make it we don't want to show any screen success screen for this. Okay, now let's create a state. Again, that's going to be mutable state. Create a dot as state flow for that. Then we will be making an event state. So let's say private wall events is going to be mutable shared flow, right? That's gonna be something like this. And now the next function would be function get address for the user. That is going to be shared view model scope dot launch, and inside that we'll make it wall result equals to safe API call. We need the food API for that, so we'll make it wall food API as food API, call it food API dot get user address. For that matter, we don't have that yet, but we'll use it. And now we'll say API response success case. We'll be using this, and we'll also make it a loading state as well. Right now over here we'll go to the food API. Now over here we'll make it a get method and make it as slash addresses. I need to check what the endpoint is, but I think it should be something similar to this. And to get the response what you have, you can basically so basically this is the endpoint that we have when you run this. Okay, so that is the response object that you can get from the addresses. So you get over here to the Android Studio again and go to models, create a new class, not new class, go to model, get over here into this and paste it and make it as address list response, generate that. Now over here we'll make it address list response. Over here you are gonna use the address object that we created and not the addresses. Like you can see that you have two different, you can just delete one of them. Now we'll have something like this, and now you can see that it requires the addresses, so we'll just return that addresses from here, and then the rest of the stuff is basically done. In the main activity, what we need to do is that we can just import that function. We'll also need to pass the nav controller to this because we might be navigating from there, nav controller, and we'll also use the view model for this. That is going to be scaled view model. So yeah, that's something that we did. We basically created an address section which basically fetches the address, and this address will be called by get addresses right away as soon as basically the specific section is being created. And what else? I think that's pretty much what we need. Now we go over here into this address section, and we'll make a couple of things. We'll say collect as state. Sorry, that's gonna say collects as state with life cycle. For events, we are not gonna use something like this. In fact, we will be using launched effect. That's gonna be true. So that is just run one time, and we'll say view model dot event dot collect latest, and then we'll use this inside it. And now over here we'll say right. Okay, and you can add the remaining branches as well. So let's do something like this. Okay, so now we have navigate to edit address, navigate to add address, and we also have a loading state that we can use. We can have a success screen where we will be listing the addresses and whatnot. I think that's pretty much what we need. What one more item that I think we can do is that we can use it as let's use a column. Then over here we'll be using a raw. The raw should be a header, so we'll use icon button, and over here we'll use icon as painter resource r dot drawable dot back. Right, content description should be null. That is going to be painter resource. Now okay, now we have this thing. When it's clicked, which means now we need to pop backstack for this. Then we have a text, and we have a text that says address list, and that is going to be a material theme. So that's going to be material theme dot typography dot title medium, and then we also need a spacer. That's going to be modifier dot size. Let's use 40 dp. Doesn't matter what we use, but let's just use this like this. And now over here we will be using something vertical horizontal arrangement as space between, so that they all goes to all the sides. Now that's done. The next thing that we need to do is that we'll use it over here like this. When there is a loading state, we'll make another column. Okay, and that is going to be show loading, which means we'll use circular progress indicator. We also will be using text as loading, and we'll make it as body medium. Color should be gray, but we'll also make sure that the vertical arrangement is center, arrangement or center, and horizontal alignment is also center horizontally. Okay, now we come for the success case. In term of success, what I'm going to do is that I'll create a lazy column, and that lazy column is going to be something like this. Dot state dot data. That is going to be items as list, and then we will be using address card. I think that should be enough, and we'll be using on address. Click for that as well. So when user click on that, it will be shown like that. Once that is done, the rest we can do is that when there is anything error, we'll say uh, the text saying uh, message. Along with that, we'll make a button that says text retry. When user click on that, we'll make it view model dot get addresses, so that it again gets the addresses. I think that's pretty much what we want to show in this specific screen. This column, not over here, not this column. Let's make it this one, modifier dot padding, and that is going to be 16.dp from each side, and this address card should show a little bit padding in the beginning as well. So I'm going to add a.dp, and now let's just try to run this. Do we have any section from where we can navigate? I think we need to go to the card screen, and when this address card is called over here, what we are going to do is that we'll be saying view model dot on address clicked. We'll create a member function, and now over here we'll make it view model scope dot launch, and we'll say this. Go to card screen. When you go to card screen, I think the event is already there, so I think that should be enough. Now let's just run it and see if we get the address list. When you click on that, I hope we'll be able to get the address screen. Okay, so we are here. Let's click on this. Now it's something like this. Click on that. You can see that it's showing quite bad, but yeah, let me just fix these things. We need to go to the address list screen. The first column that we have created is going to be modifier dot fill max size. That should cover everything. We are also going to do this for this. This is also going to be fill max size, and this is also going to be something like this. Now let's just try again. I'm not sure why it happened. It is basically something like this showing. Let's just try again. Get over here. Now go to the cart, select addresses. We are getting retry. We are not getting any message. Also, this back button is tinted black, which is super weird. So let's just see what we made a mistake. I think space evenly should be done. Also, which weird is that why the address is not being called. Let me see. When we search, it says 404, and that is because we are using address and not addresses. So this is again important that you use the correct endpoint to test. So let's just go to the food API and uses addresses. Try to run this code again, and this time hopefully we'll fix at least the list will start showing up. Okay, let's just get over here, and now you can see that we have a pretty decent card that says we have some sort of address. This header is weird that it's not properly showing the list, and that could be I could be making any mistake. Horizontal arrangement, vertical align. Okay, I found the issue. Center vertically, and we also need to make it modifier dot fill max width, so that it covers the space, right? And then it will basically show it properly. And get over here. Looks much better. This is going to be space between, and also let's just not use an icon button. Instead, use the only icon that we have and make it modifier dot clickable, and then add this. Try running it again. This time we'll hopefully fix this issue that we have. Let's use an image for this. You use an image, hopefully this time the icon will not create a problem, because it looks like the icon is basically adding a 10 to this. So okay, now it looks good, much better. So yeah, that's pretty much what we did. We implemented the address listing. It's pretty straightforward. Now what we want to do is that, well, let's say when a user click on that, we'll take that address to the previous screen and assign it to the user. But along with that, I think we also should allow the user to like navigate to another screen where user can add more addresses to this, right? And for that, what we will do is that when user click on a plus sign, we'll navigate the user to another screen that will have a map, and from the map, user can like select where user want to drop, like where user want to locate the pin, and that pin will show some sort of address to the user as well. So that is also going to be another thing that we would like to do. Now let's just work on that. So what we need to do is that we need to create one more screen. So for that, I'm going to create one more package, and let's make it add address. Okay, and then for that we'll be making a new class, Kotlin class. Let's call it add address screen. That's going to be file. Let's make it a composable function, add address screen. That's going to take nav controller, and we'll also be using a view model equals to build view model, right? And now I'm just gonna now one more thing that we need to do, that we need to create a Kotlin class and call it add address view model, right? Make it an inject constructor. Inject constructor wall food API. As food API, will make it a view model, and will also make it a hilt view model. Now we need to do is that we need to create sealed class state for that. Address events on navigate to address list, and then we also need states. So we'll also make a sealed class address states. For success, we don't want anything from this section. Instead, we want to just use that as an object. Okay, and also we'll use error message. So I think that's pretty much what it should do. Now this is basically going to be a two-step thing. The first step would be to use the navigation. So over here, we'll say wall private wall UI state is equals to mutable state flow, right, for loading. And then the next would be a UI state dot state flow. Then we need to have a function reverse geocode that is going to be lat and long. This is basically will be using this to send the latitude and longitude to the server, and the server will return an address to us that we will be using. So that's important. And then the last thing would be to function add address, that is going to be address, yeah, I think that's pretty much what we would be doing. Now, to do that, like in the add address screen, the first important thing is to use show a map to the user, where user can like select an item, and then when user click on that, will show a bottom navigation that will basically a bottom navigation dialog that will take a little bit more information from the user, which user can input and then store it on the backend. Okay, so to do that, what we need to do is that we need to integrate Google Maps. So to integrate Google Maps, what we need to do is that we need to add some dependencies to the system. Okay, and for that we'll go over here, go to the build scripts, go to Android Gradle files, and over here I'll add it, the Google Map Compose. We'll sync it. Okay, so now this is done. And one more thing that we need to do over here is that we need to go to over here and go to the Android manifest file and add this property inside the. So this metadata is important, and this is basically a key that you will require. Now, how you are going to obtain your key is that for that you need to go to your cloud console. From over here, select API and services. Okay, and then from API services, what you need to do is that you need to make this geocoding API. Go to over here. Now, uh, when you enable it, when you like enable this specific API, it will ask you to set up your billing as well, which is important. Like Google Maps do not work without billing. If you want to use map in your system, in your applications, the map key can only be generated if you add your credit card or debit card. But the credit card and debit card will not be charged. You will not be charged a single penny until unless you manually go and upgrade your project. For example, I'll show you. If I go to this overview, where was that? Not over here. If I go to the cloud console, now you can see that this is a free credit that I get, right? And you can also check that it says you won't be auto charged once your trial ends. However, your resources are marked for deletion and may be lost immediately. So which means that we have a trial period through which, like, till which we can use it, and if we do not basically upgrade, it might be deleted, which is like for a test projects it's fine. If you are already running it on a production, you definitely have to pay for that, but I think other than that we are good. And also if you go and manually upgrade your account, then only you will be charged. So since we are not like being we're not gonna upgrade this, which means that will be safe. All we need to do is that we need a single credit card or a debit card numbers that we need to add so that we can activate or get the key. Now, how do we get the key? We get over here and go to the let's say if you are on the API services, go to the credentials section. And now over here, I have already this API key, or you can do is that you can click on this, create credential, and then you click on that. So when you click on this API key, you will get an API key for that. But make sure that your map for Android and basically is enabled as well. If you want to use it, I have not yet enabled it, so I'll enable it over here right away. Okay, so now you can see that I have enabled it. And now once you do all these things, you just copy that key that we basically obtained it, and we'll go over here to our backend code. Now inside your backend code, you will see that we have this one file with the name of Google config inside this config section. So you'll go over here into Google config, and this map key, you need to paste that map key in your backend code as well. This is important. You need to paste the same key in the backend and also on the Android side as well. So once you do that, only then you'll be able to access the Google Maps. Now I've copied that key. I have this key, and I'll just paste it over here. So I'll paste it over here. Now the key is being pasted over here. And now what we need to do is that we go to the add address screen. Now there is nothing that we can do. I'll make a column, and now inside that column we'll say wall camera state is equals to remember camera position states. That's for basically use for the camera the way we want to show it. Now let's say call it camera state dot position is equals to camera position dot from lat long. Let's just add a random lat long for now. So we'll use something like this. Let's use lat long 10f. Okay, normally 13f is the default section, so that is basically the default settings that we have set. And now we'll say Google Map. Okay, and now for over here we'll use something like camera state as camera states. So that is going to be camera position state is this modifier as, and then we'll import the modifier fill max size, which will import that whole thing. And I think that's for now. Let's just do this and see if we can load the map and show it. And then now we go over here to the main activity. And now let's say we have something like this. Let's just use this for add address screen, and that is going to be add address. Okay, let's import that and go over here, create a new route. Okay, let's just use add address to this. Now once you do that, we'll go over here, we'll import that from here, go to address screen over here, and now inside this header we used a spacer. This time what I'm gonna use is that I'm gonna use an icon, and I'm gonna say icons dot filled dot add. Let's say add a circle that we can use, make it a null, and also make it an modifier, something like that. And we'll say on add address clicked, we'll make a member function inside that. We'll say view model scope dot launch, and then we'll emit that navigate to add address. We'll again go to the address list screen, and now over here you know that we need to go over here navigate to add address. So we'll say nav controller dot navigate add address. Okay, now let's just run the code again. This time we'll get an add icon on top right corner, and when I click on that, it will take me to the add address, which will show me a map. So that's pretty much what we want for now. Okay, there is something wrong with the API, sorry, the map version that we are using. Since we are using 34, the map version we have is slightly updated. So let me just check if we can get an older version of the Google Maps. Let's use 6.1.1. Let me see if this works. Let's see. Hopefully this will work. Okay, now let's just run this. Hopefully this time there will not be any conflicts with the SDK versions that we are using. Okay, now we are over here. Let's just go to select address. We have this plus sign. Okay, so basically the emulator that I have do not have play services, so I need to run it on a different device. Let's go for Pixel 30 API. This is the one that has the relevant play services that are required. Okay, now this is running. We need to log in, so let's just log in. and use 1 2 3 4 5 6, right? Like there is somehow the emulator is slow, I'm not sure why. We'll see. Get to the cart. We don't have anything. Let's just get over here, try adding an item to the cart. Let's just, okay, now we'll go over here. We have these things. Let's just click on select address, click on the plus sign, and now when I click on that, it should take me to the map screen, and you can see that we are getting a map with 13, and it's like somewhat where we wanted the default specification for this. Now the next thing that we want to do is that we want to enable the user location. So like user can go to their location, and when also when user move to that specific location, we would want the user to will show a card maybe on top of the screen that will basically tell the user that okay, now this is the address, that address path that will be basically created for you. And once user want to go with that, user will basically just click on the okay, or like uh, user click on that okay, will show bottom navigation, which will take a little bit more information. And you just submit that, that information will be submitted, and then user will be taken back to the previous screen where user will be able to see the list of the screens that you have, sorry, see the list of addresses that user have. So I think that's pretty much what we have, and now let's just start working on that. To implement that, what we need to do is that we need to go to build.gradle file first thing, and let's just add this specific permission. This will basically help with location. Along with that, what we need to do is that we need to implement one more SDK that will basically help us with coroutines. So let's just do it, that, and sync it. Now once that is done, let's just create a new package over here and call it location. And inside that, let's just create a new Kotlin class and call it location manager. Let's call it location manager, make it a simple class. Now once you do that, there are a couple of things that you need. First thing that you need to do is that you need to make it a singleton. Okay, and now we will be using inject constructor, and this is going to be wall fused location provider client. That is something that we need. So once you do that, the next thing that you need to do is that you need to create function get location, and that location mean is that this is basically be something like a flow. Okay, and this is gonna be coroutines flow, and it's gonna return us a location provided by that, which is equals to a flow, and then inside that we'll be doing something like this. Okay, you need to import that. Now this basically specific thing will ask you to add a couple of permission. So we'll get over here, and we'll use this permission access find location, and we'll be using use this permission access course location. Okay, so once you do that, it will still complain, but this will be this time the complaint will be different. This time what you'll do is that you'll add this express permission lint, because we'll basically handle it later on. And then now what we need to do is that we need to define account basically a dispatcher for that, like which thread it should be running on. And for that I'm gonna say dispatcher.io, so that it runs on background. And this is basically this specific functionality will help me with accessing the location on background thread. Okay, now that is done, the location manager is used. What we need to do is that we need to define this one for Hilt as well, so that we can use it. And for that, what you need to do is that you need to go to your this module. Why is it over here? I think this is wrong. We should like use it somewhere else, but let's just use it inside this and call it as provide. And this is gonna be use location provider client. Let's call it location services dot get context. So now that's what you need to do. Once you do that, this means now this will be created during the launch, and now it will be able to access that. And now we'll go to our add address screen again, features, address. Now inside this add address, we don't have anything. And what we need to do is that we'll say private wall location manager, which is going to be the location manager. And once we access that, what we need to do is that we need to get the location. So we'll say wall function get get location, and that's gonna be something is equals to location manager dot get location. Now this function is basically a flow that we will be collecting at the on the UI side. And before doing that, now we get over here once. It's a wall location is equals to view model dot get location dot collect as state as null for now. Initial state would be null. And now over here we'll say that location dot let. Once that is done, we'll use something like this. But location dot value. But one thing that is more important is that, okay, for location that is fine, and we can also like change this to the user location. So we'll say it dot latitude, and this is going to be it dot longitude. So that is important that we will be use something like this. Now the thing is that now it will not work until user have like permissions. So to get the location, what we need to do is that we need to, let's say, create a composable function request location permission, and in return it will say on permission granted will use this, and along with that will say on permission rejected, let's use something like this, right? Now over here, the first thing that I need to do is that I need to set a context that is going to be local context dot current. That is important. The next thing that we need to do is that I need to create permission. So I'll say wall permissions is equals to list of find and course location. So these are the permission that we need. And now over here, I'll say wall permission launcher is equals to remember launcher for activity results. And now over here I'll say that if it's like a multiple permission state, this is the one I need to import that. Now if all the values are true, which means the permission is granted, now it's done, else it's not done, and we'll also use it as this. And now I'll say permission launcher dot launch, and that is basically gonna take the permission for my it requires an array, so you can just use it to type array. Okay, and there's just one more thing that you need to check, and that is like if has already location permission. So let's say if context, sorry, not over here, over here we'll say if context dot check self permission, if like both the permissions are granted, which means now it means that we are already user have this permission, and now user can access it. Now over here, like at this point, we'll use something like this. and we'll say location dot, sorry, view model dot get location, which means that user needs to get the location. And in case of error, let's use it else. Let's just show a error message for now and call it toast dot make text. That is going to be nav controller dot context, and along with that we'll also say nav controller dot pop backstack. So now what happens is that it will first it will basically get the user location, and now along with that we'll also use a couple of things. So let's say UI settings, that is going to be UI map UI settings, and we need to add these values. So like zoom controls should be enabled, my location button should be enabled, and compass should be enabled. So these are the things that we want to enable. Now let's just run it and see how it looks. Okay, so now it's running. Now let's just get over here, select address. Let me just add a new. Okay, it crashed. A good sign, I think, that it's crashed. At least now we'll be able to identify what exactly went wrong. Now it says that the launcher has not been initialized. Okay, I think I made a mistake over here and I need to make it something like this. We need to make sure that it's only run one time and only run after the initialization of the launcher. So now this time hopefully it will be able to uh, ask for the permission, and once the permission is being granted, then we'll be able to show the user the map, and we'll try to navigate the user to that location. So let me just do a couple of things. First of all, we are over here. Let me just select a random country city. Let's use Lahore, and let's make it a set my location for this. Now we get over here, select that, we click on that. Okay, now somehow the app still crashed. I'm not sure why. Let's see. It's crashing because it says that the locations are not there, but how come it says that like it doesn't have any permission? Why would it launch anything without a permission? Like, I found the issue, and that is that we are trying to get the location even before this. So that was an mistake. We should not do that. Instead, we should use it somewhat over here. Wall is permission granted is equals to remember mutable state of false, means that now initially the permission would not be granted. Once that is granted, we'll set it to true. And if it's like not granted, we'll show some sort of a loader to the user to the screen. Let's use it something like this. So like if it's not granted, we'll make it a column that is going to be circular progress indicator, and that should be modifier dot fill max size, vertical arrangement center, or horizontal arrangement as alignment at center as well. So I think that's something we need to do. And then we'll try again, so that this time it will not crash and will be successfully be able to like grant the permission first, and then we'll get the location. So okay, now It's loading. Go over here, select the address, click on the plus sign. Now this time you can see that we are able to do that, and as soon as I grant the permission, it should be able to get me to the older location. Somehow it didn't. Let me see if I okay. So it looks like the get location is not working, or like it's working but it's still getting the last location for that, and we are also not getting the uh, get my location button as well. Yeah, just one more thing I think that I missed, that is properties, map properties thing, that is my location enabled, and that should be true. I think that's one thing. We'll say location dot value dot let, and over here let's just add a marker to this. Let's use a marker, and that is going to be state is equals to marker state. It's gonna take location, and it will say your location. I don't think we don't need that, right? So let's just try again this time. Okay, now go to this, select address, click on the plus sign. Now you can see we have this icon. Now when I click on that icon, it takes me to this section, which is where I want it, and which is my current like location as well. So yeah, that's pretty much how it should be done, or how it should look. Now let's just get over here, go back, click on the add sign, and this time you'll see that it took me to this. Now the problem, like the one initially when we tried to do that, it instead landed on the US, because the last known location to the system was that, and since we when clicking on that, it took us, it updated the last location, and now that's why it's like showing it like this. So this is basically done. Now in the next part that we want to do over here. Okay, okay, I think this should not be every single time. So we need to make sure that it's done only one. For that, we'll be using only like this. So it just happens once, not the every single time. And it's like allow us to make marker here and there. Okay, let's just click on that, click on the plus sign. It started the marker, and now I think I need to make it unit rather than this. Get over here, we need to this, that's fine. Now you can see that I can move even without that, which means now this is working. Now there's one more thing left from this screen, and that is like when I move my camera, I want my cursor to be at center point. So wherever like the center point is, I would want that to load address on top of it, where from where user can, like, I can see what is the address. What we will do is that we'll take the latitude and longitude from here, we'll pass it to the backend, and the backend will return an address to us. So how do we implement that? Okay, now to do that, what we need to do is that we need to do a couple of things. First, what we need to do is that we need to make sure that we basically use this as camera state. Okay, and now over here we will be using something like snapshot flow, and inside that we'll say camera position, camera state position dot is moving, and we'll say collect latest, which means that it will check for if there is like anything, and also along with that also filter it by basically is moving, not, which means like if the camera moving, when the movement camera movement is stopped, only then will basically get the lat long. And let's use this wall center screen marker is equals to lat long, sorry, remember mutable state of lat long of something like this. That's gonna be location. Okay, now we'll see say that this dot value is equals to this will not be dot value. This is also going to be dot value, which means now what happens is that it will check for the is moving of that specific value, and when there is any movement and that movement is being stopped, it will give us the value for that marker, and then we will show that. Now over here I'll use this one as a marker so that it, rather than using a location, it will show it this way. Now hopefully when I run this, this will show me the result that I'm expecting. Okay, now it's running. Let's hope this time what I'm trying to implement is the correct way. I click on that, it loads the marker to me. I can move that, and you can see that it's now moving according to how I wanted, right? So this is basically one step again towards it. Like one more thing is that it's like only showing when it's stopping, and that is because over here we added this filter. So let me just take that filter out of it and add that moving check over here. So like if it's not moving, only then we'll make that web call to the backend. Let me change it to position. Get over here, go to the address section, go to this, and now you can see that now it's like more smooth. You can zoom it to a specific certain level, and it will keep on moving as per that, right? Now when, like, let's say I am at that specific point, I want to make this my location. So when the user stops the movement, we will show some sort of a card over here on the screen that will basically ask the user if user wants to select that specific location. And to do that, what we need to do is that we need to first fix this reverse geocode thing. That is the one we want, and for that we need to go to, where is food API? This is food API. Now over here I'll make a request. I go to my backend code and I check. So this is the endpoint, which is post that says reverse geocode, and that is gonna take a request. Let's say first geocode request. Okay, and for that I'm gonna get over here, create a new Kotlin class that is going to be a data class, reverse geocode request, that should contain latitude and longitude, and it returns something like this. It returns something like this. So over here we'll just update that and now make it an address model. Yeah, but just make sure that the user ID, yeah, these are nullable. Okay, fine. So this is how the reverse geocode should work. And now we'll get back to our view models section over here. We'll say view model scope dot launch, and now inside that the first thing is that the wall address is equals to safe API call food API dot reverse dot reverse geocode, and that is going to be reverse geocode request that should take latitude and longitude. Now in return, when there is a success case, when address, now over here we'll say is API success, and in case of error, I'm not gonna say, I'm gonna say else. So now that's what we want. Along with that, let's say private wall address is equals to mutable state flow of address, and that is going to be initial value going to be null for that, and we'll say address as state flow. Okay, now over here, that is important, address dot value is equals to address dot data, which is cool. In case of error, we'll say null, and also when we are making a value like a data, I will make it as null as well. Now we go to the add address screen, and now over here, since basically this is under a column, I'm not gonna use a column. Instead, I'm gonna use a box for this, and the reason I'll tell you why, because over here, like once the box like this right under the map, when there is like a map section, I'll create a view. So that is going to be more or less like an address card, right? And it will use something like this. Okay, and I'll make it, replace it under that, or let's just go over here, copy most of the thing that we have over here, get rid of that, place it over here like this, and since it's a box, can also get rid of that as well. Now we have something like this. It has this shadow that is okay. I think to some extent we can use it, and if the address is not null, that's not the case. The address should always be there. So I'm gonna say view model, sorry, let's use it, wall address is equals to view model dot address dot collect as state with life cycle, and now I'll say address value dot let, and now inside that we'll place that whole box, right? Now once we place that, this means now we got something out of it. We'll use it as IT, this is also going to be IT, and this is going to be IT as well. Now you saw that this is basically a column, but we want to make it a raw this time. Why? I'll tell you that as well. Okay, I guess we got extra. Let's import the raw. There's going to be modifier dot fill max width. Okay, now once that is done, like once an address is selected, we will be creating a button. That button is going to be saying that add address, which means now this will add the address, and when user click on that, we'll say view model dot address, sorry, view model dot on add address clicked. Okay, this is something that will be done. View model scope dot launch something, and we'll say object show final dialog as address event. Now over here we'll say underscore. Okay, we haven't created the shared flow for that, so let's just use private wall underscore event is equals to mutable shared flow of address add address events, and in return we'll be using this. Okay, and now over here we'll use event dot emit, and then we pass the show final dialog. Yeah, that's pretty much what we will be doing. Now we go back to our add address screen, and I think that's pretty much how it should be shown. Now let's just try. Okay, yeah, one more thing I missed that, and that is to align in the bottom. So that is going to be alignment bottom center, which means that it will go to the center. And now let's just run this. Now you will see when I move that specific cursor, I'll get a card, and when I basically when it's loading and when it's like it's not there, it will the card will vanish away as well. Let's just wait for that. You'll see there will be a slightly wait for that on each moment. Okay, we get over here, select address, click on the plus sign. You see there is this mark. We don't see the card. Okay, somehow the backend gave the result as 404. You can see that when we call this reverse geocode, it failed. Let me see why. Okay, that is going to be address slash reverse geocode. So we'll make sure that we use this correctly. Now let's just try again. We get over here, select address, click on that, we'll move, and now you can see that we got this card. Let's say if I move this specific section to different, it should update it to something else. Okay, not up. Okay, now it's updating. It is updating. See that it's properly working like as expected. For some reason, we are not getting address line neither in the one or neither in the two, which is odd. We should get it from the backend. That could be that, but it could be because of like there might be some section where they might not have. Okay, the server is returning something empty, and that is basically more on the server side. So I think we can ignore that for now. And once user click on that, I would want that specific card to be shown. Now let's just go back to the previous location where we were, and now you can see that it's like giving us the proper addresses as well. So now, yeah, so basically that's how it should work, right? Now you can see that it's basically Alam Road, and now when I click on that add, I would want that specific card to be populated, and then from where you can just click like when I click on that add address, it will just change this card into a loader, and it will show me the well, when it succeeded, it will just give me a success call and then go back. So that's what we want, right? Now to do that, what we will be doing is that now we have in the view model, we have plenty of things. We have address and all that thing, and now what we need is that we want that specific user to when you click on, or let's just do one more thing. Let's just get rid of that. When user click on that address, we would want to update the UI. So for that case, now, so yeah, so when address is clicked, what we want to do is that we want to store that, right? And I'll get over here and make it object address storing, and now we'll say So now we have something like this, and over here I'll say wall result is equals to safe API call food API dot store rest. We don't have that method, so we'll get over here, we'll create the suspend function, and this is gonna be the same like this. The only difference is that it should be post addresses, store addresses, and in the body we'll pass address like this, and in return I'm gonna get response, generic response. And what do we have left now? Yeah, so that's what we want. We'll pass the address dot value, but we need to make sure that this is only clicked when user is there, and then we'll say when result is a success, we'll again change it to success, and we'll make that navigate to address list, which is going back. In case of error, will show an error, failed to store the address. So I think that's what we want. Now inside the address screen, we'll say wall UI state is equals to view model dot UI state dot collect as lifecycle. I think I'm not using it anywhere else for now. Yeah, so we have this UI state, and now over here we'll see that if UI state dot value is address, add address view model dot address state dot address storing, that case will be using this, else will show it something like this. We can also add other checks as well. For example, you can use this as well for in case like there is an error. In case of error, you can show some sort of a text message, and yeah. So what happens is that if address storing is there, it will show a circular progress indicator. When address is stored, it will show a success case as well. So let's make one more state, that is success, and over here inside this top section we'll now create one more thing, and that is going to be to help us with navigation. So I'm gonna say true, then also view model dot event dot collect latest, and now over here we'll see that if it's a that navigate to address list will show that it's successfully stored, and then we'll navigate back. Okay, now let's just try to run this and see if what we implemented is actually working. Ideally, what should happen is that it should allow us to store the address, and when the address is stored, we'll be able to go back to the previous screen. Now we have something like this. We go over here now, click on the plus sign. You see we got something like this. I think this is a mistake. Let's just go to the address screen, and this success case should not be there, because in success case we are showing the address. So let's just not show that. Now we get over here, we click on that plus sign, maps loaded. Now you can see that it's clicked. Now when I click on that, it stored the address, and then it takes me back to the previous screen. Unfortunately, we don't have the callback for this. Like when a new address is added, we want that specific screen to be refreshed. So I'll go to the main activity over here, and this is the address list screen. And now since this is basically a section where everything is updating, and now over here what I'm going to do is that I'll say wall is address added, and now for that I'm going to say nav controller dot, I'm going to say current stack entry dot, now that's save handle dot, now say get state flow, right? That is going to be something like this, and we want to have a default value for that as well as false, and you can call it as collect as state. So we'll do something like this, which means that if the address state is like uh, initially will be false, but if there is any change from the previous screen, we'll update that. Now we'll say that if there is something like that, if the address value is true and this value is equals to true, which means now this is basically a true case. In that case, we'll only get that address, like we'll only get the update the address screen. And now in the add screen section, when we are navigating, popping back over here, somewhat over here, like over here. Now what we are, sorry, not over here. Now over here, when basically that address is basically successfully added, now what we are going to do is that we'll say wall um, saved state handle is equals to nav controller dot previous stack entry dot save state handle dot set. Now over here again, the key is going to be is address added, and the value should be true. I think that's one thing that you can do, and then you can just yeah, that's what we can do, and then you can pop it back. Just make sure that the key that you are using is same, so should not be different. And I think that's what something you can do. You can just get rid of that as well. Now let's just run this again, and this time you'll see that when I add an address, it will get back to the previous screen, and it will also reload that screen as well. So let's see if it does that. We'll get over here, click on that screen, select address. Now we have, let's see, we have these three addresses. I'll go over here to the plus sign, I'll go to the new screen. We got this road. Let me see, I've address, change that address to somewhere else. Okay, now we got this Peer Muhammad Sadiq address. Let me just add this, and now you can see it added that address, and that address is also shown over here as well, which is what we wanted. Now what I want to do is that when I click on that, any of the address from here, any address that I want to select, that address will be selected, and that address will be returned to the previous screen, which will then basically be the one that I want, right? So basically that address will basically be assigned to this specific screen, and based on that, this checkout button will be enabled. So right now it's still enabled, but I'm going to disable it. So let's just do that. To do that, I'll go back to my cart screen again. So yeah, so we'll get over here, and now we'll go to the view model. For view model, you can see that we don't have the state for address, so I'm gonna say wall address is equals to mutable state flow of address. That initial value is going to be null. I'm gonna make this something like this, make it private. Now say wall selected address as this. Now we'll go to the cart screen. You can see that now we can use this view model dot selected address, or you can use something like selected address is equals to view model dot selected address dot collect as state with lifecycle. And now I'm gonna use that instead of this dot value. Okay, and we'll also make sure that this button is enabled only when selected address is not null. Now now this time you will see, when I run the code, you will see that the checkout button will be disabled when there is no address. When there is an address, it will basically show you that okay, now the address is there, so the button will become enabled. Now let's just get over here. Now you can see that this button is disabled, and it will only be enabled when I select any of this item that we have over here. So now how do we do that? So to do that, we need to go to our address list screen now. So we need to go to the address list screen over here, and you can see that we are somehow getting our own address clicked over here. Now this is the lazy column and this is the address, and now over here you can see that we don't have that functionality for now, but I think we can say that when there is when we click on an address, you will see that we will be showing a view model dot on address selected, something like this. Okay, so I'll just create a member function over here and we'll get over here view model, sorry, navigate back. I'm gonna get address as well from there and we'll pass that over here. Now let's just create a member function for this as well. I'm gonna say data class navigate back along with the address. Okay, so now once you do that, you can go back to your address list screen, and now over here you can define your newly created screen that you want. You can get wall address is equals to like this. And now this address object that you have, it's like it's not parcelized, so you need to make it and make it parcelable, but what you need to do is that you need to enable parcelize as well. So for that, let's use id kotlin.parcelize, try to sync this hopefully, and now you can see that you can import that, right? Kotlin parcelized. Now this basically this is important, and if you have any internal custom object you need to change that as well, but since we don't have it, so we are good now. And now over here, once that is done, once you get this address, you need to pass the address as well. Now over here, when you get that address, what you need to do is that you need to do the same thing that we did in the previous screen. So we'll be using nav controller dot previous backstat entry dot save state handle dot set address as an address. And again in the cart screen, what we are going to do is that we'll make sure that we collect that address as a selected address. Wall address is equals to nav controller dot current backstack entry dot save state handle dot get state flow address, and that is going to be null for you, and then we'll say collect as state with life cycle, so something like this. Now we'll say launched effect of address, which means now if like there is any change in that address, we'll see that if it's not null, we'll say on address selected. Okay, and let's just create a new member function for this. Now this is gonna be address, and now over here we'll say simple address dot values equals to address. I think that's what it should be. Unreachable code. Okay, sorry, that should be something like this. Just one more thing that we want to change it, and that is to make it an address, nullable address, and now we'll say address dot value dot let something like this, and instead we'll pass it to it, and this will work. And now when the address is being received, it will update all these things accordingly. Now let's just run this code again and see what happens when I select an address from the screen, next screen. Like, ideally what should happen is that it should allow me to select that address from the next screen, and then when it take me back to this screen, and when I get to this screen, this specific card should be updated as per the newly selected address. So now let's just get over here, select an address. Now we have all these addresses. Let's select this one, and you can see when I select that, that address is being populated over here, and that button is also enabled. And now when we click on checkout, it should take us to the next screen, or like it should initiate the stripe flows. So I think this was a very long video, but we wanted to make sure that we cover this whole feature in one video. I hope it's easier for you to understand. Please, like, take your time to understand this, to implement this. One more thing, for those people who are like, who don't want to, or like, who don't have the cards that they can use for the map flows. So for those, what I'm gonna do is that by default I'm gonna create one default address that would be pointing to any random address on the map, but it will contain the necessary things. So you will by default get at least that specific section on your screen, and when you click on that, it will take you over here. So it would be good if you can like implement that, or if you can work with this implementation of adding these specific flows that we implemented. But if not, you can always get at least one address every time from the backend, so that it doesn't block you from using the, like, from implementing the rest of the application. In the next video, what we are going to do is that we are going to implement the Stripe flows, like Stripe, that will basically be a payment provider. So we'll implement the payment method, and once that is done, we will be setting up the orders flows. So in the next video, we will implement those features, and that would be most probably the last video of our food app, like the customers app series. And in the next video, we will implement the rider app, or we might work on the restaurant app. So thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you like the video, and I'll see you in the next video. So till then, have a good day. Happy coding. Bye. I hope you liked the video, and if you did, please like the video, comment down below, and share the video with your friends. For similar content, you can subscribe to my channel. You can also follow me on Instagram, and if you have any queries, you can join my Discord server where we discuss different kind of things. So thank you so much for watching the video. Have a great day. Bye.